Hi guys, the next short video that we're going to work through is the GeoMaps page by Auckland Council. This will show us how to review a site at a desktop level for assets such as wastewater, water, stormwater, review the contours of a site, search up some of the geology aspects of a site, and then we'll move on to the final video, which will be using the Auckland Council planning maps, which is a separate GeoMaps tool that we use. So for this one, we just click I agree. That's all the terms and conditions agreed to. You punch in the property address 1614 Great North Road in Waterview. That's based on the example report we've provided in the DEVSMARTS link. So we want to have a look at what assets there are around this property. So we will turn that on by going to switch themes, and then we go into assets. From the assets we can go down to underground services, click them on, hit the drop down tab, click wastewater, stormwater and water. That's the three fundamental things you need for a development in and around Auckland: wastewater, stormwater and water. As you can see for this site, the stormwater, there's a depth to invert, so that's the depth of the connection into the manhole, is about 1 metre. So that is deep enough considering it's the lower end of the site. So in this situation you'd be asking for the neighbours' approval prior to lodgement of an RC or an EPA, just to get their consent to make the connection. It always helps out. Sometimes you have to discuss with them a small donation. Sometimes they don't want to grant consent, but council, if there's a development happening, they can issue a right of entry for you to undertake the work, but it is the longer process. So it's always good to get that stuff sorted out as soon as you can. The wastewater line runs through the site, so if you were to build over that wastewater line, you'd be triggering bridging piles. You'd also have to drop a manhole on top of that line, and you'd want to establish further down the track the depth of that line, because that would have an impact on the overall site and the developability of the site. The water seems pretty constant at 100 ml/e, so there's already one existing connection there. You could safely assume that you'd have the ability to hook up to water on this site. So the next layers we'll turn on will be the contour layer. That gives you an idea of the topography of the site, and as you can see, there's quite a considerable amount of contour towards the back of the site. That's 34, that's 26, so there's a good amount of fall to the back of the site there. The next layer we'll turn on will be catchments and hydrology. So this shows us the rivers and permanent streams, which is helpful to understand how close you are to a river, the overland flow paths, the flood prone areas, the flood sensitive areas, and the flood plains. So that gives you a good idea of where you can see the start right here of an overland flow path forming down to where the river is, and you can see the floodplain area running around the outside of it. The next layer we'll turn on will be the geotech layer. So we simply search in the I tool right here, and you search for geotech, go add, go back to your themes drop down and go environment. Once this loads, you want to click on geotech and geotechnical, areas susceptible to coastal erosion, geological maps, landslides. So tick on the most important one out of all of these options is landslides, and then you want to zoom out on the map and it will show you, you want to turn the shallow one off and the water bodies off, and then zoom out to about 5,000, sorry, 8,000, and it shows you the areas that you're in. So this is a moderate area, so we would consider this will probably require a bit more geotech work to give us an idea of what we're dealing with. We know it's got a slope towards the back of the site, so we know the shallow landside susceptibility will be on the site. If you turn that on, you can see just in the corner of the site there, because it's quite steep, so there'll be a little bit more geotech work on the site, but it's not in the very high or the high category for large scale landslide susceptibility. So this is a good thing for this development site.